Do you wish you could be the present mom you've always wanted to be, but still need to provide an income for your family? Are you tired of scouring the internet for legit jobs that will replace your income and that you can do from home in your PJs? Hey friend, welcome to the Virtual Assistant Mama podcast. I know you're over there Googling jobs for moms, legit work-at-home jobs, or start a side hustle, yet you can't figure out how to take that first step. So instead, you stay stuck, do nothing, or start random side hustles to try to make quick money. Becoming a virtual assistant is the answered prayer you've been waiting for. My name is Ariana, and I'm a former teacher turned work-at-home mom who replaced my teaching income as a virtual assistant in just 6 months. I did this by taking a step of faith and following the dream that God placed on my heart to be home with my babies. Mama, your dreams pale in comparison to God's dreams for you. Imagine offering services that light you up, working with clients who value you and pay you what you're worth, and having a job that works around your life and not the other way around. This is the podcast for you. It's time to take that first step. Are you ready? Here we go. Are you pretty sure God is calling you to something new, but you're hesitating and afraid to take that leap? Y'all, I want you to understand something. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. This episode is a bit of tough love, but I want you to feel something you haven't felt in a long time, something that will propel you forward into big action. Action on your call, on your purpose, and on whatever piece of God's big puzzle that you hold in your hands. You have everything you need inside of you to step up, rise up, and do big, amazing, incredible things while you're here on this earth, and a chance in this life to leave a legacy, no matter how big or little it is. So I want you to go ahead, grab a piece of paper and pen, and get ready. I want you to think of something that you knew you were supposed to do, but you came up with every excuse not to do it. So think of 1 or 2 or 3 examples and write them down on your paper. So 2 personal examples from me. The first one that I knew I was supposed to do was quit teaching. I knew I wasn't called there anymore. I knew I wanted to be a more present mom, but I still knew that I needed to provide an income for our family because we could live off my husband's income, but it would be tight. And so I knew that I was called out of teaching, but I didn't know what else to do. So I stayed in there a lot longer than I should have. I did finally, obviously, take the leap out, but there was a long time between me realizing I wasn't supposed to be in there anymore to actually leaving. The second example I have for y'all is starting this podcast. I knew that God was telling me that I was meant to start this podcast to help more mamas and teachers become virtual assistants so they could work from home, but I just did not feel qualified for that. I felt like I was still a pretty new virtual assistant, even though I had a lot of experience and I was successful and I had a lot of people asking me how I did it. I still had a lot of imposter syndrome about who's going to listen to a podcast I'm doing. And so I held off on that for a long time until finally God was like, you're starting it. So I just want to remind you, sometimes we hear God tell us to do something and he's like tapping us with a feather, telling us we should do it. Maybe you should probably listen to him before that feather becomes him dropping a piano on your head. Just take my advice because I've definitely been hit with some pianos. On the other side of doing the thing that we're avoiding, there is a gift from God. If you haven't done the thing that you wrote down on your paper yet, I next want you to write down why. What is holding you back? What fears do you have surrounding whatever you wrote down? So in my first example, my unwillingness to quit teaching was due to a fear of the unknown and of having no control. The same can also be said for the second example of starting this podcast. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just felt like I didn't have control fully over it. I was really stressed about, not knowing what I was doing and trying to figure it out on my own. But y'all, we're never alone. If God is calling us to do something, he's going to give us the tools and resources we need to get it done. God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. I want you to understand that when you hold back in fear, you're potentially holding back others as well. Let's look at a passage in the New Testament. In James 2:17, James says, "So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it's dead and useless. If we say we have faith, then we have to do something about it. We have to act. We have to be obedient. We have to be disciplined. We have to be action takers. We can't just point fingers and judge others. In order to be the disciple that Jesus calls us to be, we have to become everything we say we are. Our faith, our love, our grace, and discipleship all depend on action. Okay? So the next thing I want you to write down on your paper is 1 to 3 things that you can do right now to start doing whatever you first wrote on your paper. I don't want you to think too much about it. Just get a pen, write it down. What are the things you're supposed to do right now? What is God impressing on you at this moment? What are you supposed to do? I want to show you something I think is super cool. The word immediately is found 79 times in the New Testament. Mark reveals that Jesus is a servant of God. Jesus did not overthink things. He didn't sit there and think about his call to ministry. He didn't make excuses why now is not a great time. He took massive action, but he didn't take that action on his own. So I know that you are going to feel unqualified, but whatever you wrote down on your paper, it's for right now. It is for immediate action. This is the point I wanted to get to. You're going to feel unqualified. You're going to feel like you're not equipped. You're going to be scared. You're not going to know the how. You don't have to know the how. God qualifies the call. The thing that you wrote on your paper you have not yet done yet is a direct instruction from the Lord for you to do. You don't need to understand how it plays into his master plan. Whatever you wrote down is what God has planted in your heart. You have to take immediate action on it. Remember, you don't have to know how to do any of this. The path is already straight. The people are already there. Plan, it's already written. It's all up to you and your partnership with God to say, Lord, I'm willing. I am ready. There is something you're called to do, and I'm telling you, today is the day that you do it. I pray God will give you so much courage and strength and heart, like the believers that we read about in the New Testament. You've got this, friend. Now go get to it.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I would love to bless you with a free gift as a thank you. All you have to do is leave a review of the show on Apple Podcasts, take a screenshot, and send it to podcast@virtualassistantmama.com. I'll send you a code so you can snag my virtual assistant toolkit for free. And don't forget to come hang out with us in our free community, facebook.com/groups/virtual assistant mama. I'm so honored to support you in your journey to becoming a virtual assistant. Until next week, y'all, keep following the dreams that were placed on your heart so you can be the present mama you've always wanted to be.